Senator Whitehouse.
Thanks, Chairman. Mr. McMaster, the Chair and I both intend to deliver to you a robust bipartisan surface transportation reauthorization. As we discussed in my office, in order for that to happen, we need assurances that whatever bipartisan legislation we write and get enacted into law will be implemented by the executive branch in a faithful and unbiased way. And in particular, we need to clear the illegal funding freezes that have jammed up so many already appropriated projects. Will you commit to implementing any and all authorized programs in a faithful and unbiased manner?
Senator, I appreciate your comment and your question. It's an important one. I give you my full commitment, if I'm confirmed, to implement the law with the intent of Congress.
You understand how it would be hard for the minority to agree to a bipartisan bill if the upshot of that agreement was that only the majority's parts of the bill were actually implemented and everything that we wanted got binned by the executive branch.
Senator, I appreciate your comments. I think, as the Secretary pointed out, infrastructure is not partisan. And you have my full commitment to implement the law in accordance with the intent of Congress.
Thank you. Mr. Telle, I have referred to the Army Corps of Engineers as the bureaucratic tributary of the Mississippi River. That's a rhetorical point that I make to highlight the extent to which the Army Corps appears to favor inland over coastal flooding projects. We've looked back at the inland and coastal flooding account at the Army Corps, and its best year was $20 for inland for every $1 for flooding coastal, right? That was our best year as coastal states. Worst year was $100 for inland flooding for every $1 for coastal flooding. Rhode Island's sea level is up about 11 inches. That's not a debatable proposition. You measure that the same way you measure the height of your kid on the doorway. It's really simple. It's inches and rulers. And so we have real coastal flooding issues. And I would like your assurance that you will take these inland versus coastal concerns seriously as coastal flooding becomes more and more of a danger for coastal communities.
Senator Whitehouse, thank you for raising this issue, and I look forward to and am eager to, if confirmed, make sure we have our hands around this data and understand it. I think historically the riverine flooding has been easier to predict, perhaps, than the locations of coastal flooding, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't invest as much as a greater amount in coastal flooding. This is obviously an issue that's been near and dear to my heart, working on hurricane recovery my entire career, as well as inland flooding, riverine flooding. But I would just say, I think you're right. As we work to justify and prioritize, as Chairman Capito mentioned, the projects that are of the greatest benefit to the public, we have to be able to consider things that have in the past been unpredictable and try to predict them more accurately. Thank you, Senator.
Yeah, I'd also add that FEMA's mapping has been such a flagrant disaster that states like mine have had to do their own flood mapping because FEMA's mapping simply wasn't worthy of belief. You don't have to look much beyond FEMA's flood mapping of the Houston area versus the actual flooding, repeated flooding in the Houston area, which is a really big area in the last decade, to see how bad FEMA's mapping has been. So part of the problem is to fix the mapping as well as to fix the priorities. So I look forward to working with you on that.
Senator, if I may really quickly, this is an issue I've worked on in the past, and I would say there is a great deal of frustration in the public around FEMA's mapping programs. It's not something that I will be in charge of if confirmed, but certainly something I will work on.
But to the extent that you rely on them, you need to go in eyes wide open that they're a failure.
One of the frustrations that the public has had about FEMA's maps is it doesn't adequately consider flash flooding, rainstorms. It only considers storm surges in many cases, and it doesn't adequately consider flood control infrastructures. So these are issues that have to be addressed in order to give the public confidence in the government's product.
I'd also like to work with you and the chairman on a priorities list where committee members who feel that a project has gotten lost in the Army Corps' bureaucracy can get a regular scheduled briefing from the Army Corps where we put our projects on that list, and you know that those projects are on that list, and you're going to have to come in and report to us on them on a regular basis so that projects that are important to members of this committee get the attention that they deserve.
Senator, when Congress passes a law and the president signs it, there's some expectation that it be followed, and I look forward to working with you on that.
Good. Well, this is an issue where the chair and I are going to need to work together and agree, but we would certainly urge that senior Army Corps folks turn up for those briefings on those projects once we've sorted out what that looks like.
And I would add just